We're starting now, guys. Okay, so this is gonna be a workshop on Git. First of all, so there's another raffle thing or whatever that Hack is doing, so you guys can scan this and read the funny meme while you're at it. I'll wait until like 10:05 to start. Okay, gonna move past the raffle slide and we're gonna start. Okay, so this is what we're gonna talk about today. I'll give you like basic overview of like installing Git and like doing all the basic operations, and then we'll move into more advanced commands that some people who've used Git before might not have seen. And also for funsies, how to make a pull request on an open source project. Yeah, okay. So first, what is Git? And I guess what I'm saying doesn't really matter with the slide right now, but it's basically a way to store different versions of your project and share the versions with other people and collaborate on them. So like for a bit of terminology, your repository is the thing that holds all the different versions of your project, and each version of your project is stored in a commit. That's so every time I say commit, just think version of your project. So each commit stores the tree, which that's like your entire project, all the code, everything that like it's each time you create a new commit, it stores the entire project again. So if you wanted to go back to a previous version, it has everything that you saved. It also has the parent, which is the previous version that you made it from, and then the author and committer. Each commit is uniquely identified by a string of random letters and numbers called a hash. If you know what hashing is, like there's a bunch of like technical details about like how they generate those, but you don't really need to know how hashes are generated. You need to know each commit has a unique identifier called the hash. Make sense so far? And feel free to interrupt me with questions anytime you have any. Okay, so you can visualize the different versions of your project as a graph. So, okay, who doesn't know like what I mean when I say a graph? Okay, you guys have all seen it in your CS classes. Oh, okay, so a graph is basically a connection of nodes and edges. So in this case, so each circle is a node, and each of those represents one version of your project. And the edges are just pointing to the previous version. So for example, version C1 was created immediately after version C0, and C2 was created immediately after C1, etc. Any more clarification needed here? Okay, sweet. You can also store multiple versions of your projects. So in this example, C6 and C7 are both different versions of the project that were created from the base version C5, which itself was on top of C4, etc. Okay, makes sense? So to keep track of the different versions, you have branches, which are pointers to a specific version of your project. So in this case, so when you create a project, the first branch you'll have is main, and then you can create other branches, which are just like different versions of your project that have a name. But the other versions of your project still exist, they're just not named. So like C0 and C1, you could be able to go back to them, but they're just not named. All right, so if you want to look at like, so we're gonna run a bunch of commands today, but we're gonna be doing everything in the command line, so we won't be able to visualize stuff like this. if you want to be able to visualize stuff, there's this neat website that also has like a bunch of exercises you can do to learn. So if you want to learn, like really dive into it, I'd recommend going to this website afterwards, or do it after the hackathon, once you've already made your project. All right, and with that, we're going to go into the interactive part. So first thing we're going to do is install Git. And okay, first you're going to need a GitHub account, download Git on your computer, and as a bonus, install the GitHub command line tool. So and the links to those are all in the workshops channel. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to get set up, and also open a terminal window. So how you do that is, if you're on Windows, go to the Start menu and look up PowerShell. Or if you've installed Git on Windows, you might also have Git Bash. This is similar to PowerShell, except it has a few additional features that make it nice to use. Or if you're on Mac, you can open Terminal, or if you've installed Terminal in Windows, you can also open that. I'm going to be using Terminal. Yeah. So I guess I can go to the links. So Git download. So this is where you'd go, and you'd click on one of these to go to the download. So I'm on Windows, I'd click here, and then I'd click here. And then I would run that installer. And then so what I'm telling you guys to, and then there's also something called the GitHub command tool. The reason this is useful is because when you're using Git, it'll want you to log in with your GitHub account in order to upload your code and share with your teammates. Normally the process for logging in is a bit of a pain, but the GitHub command line tool opens a browser window for you, so I like it. So yeah. And I'm going to go to github.com, getting ready to make a repo. All right, so, and then I have my terminal window open. All right, is this, typing stuff, is this big enough for you guys to read? Okay. Okay, who still doesn't have Git set up on your computer? Okay, everyone's ready? Sweet. Okay, so first I'm gonna make a folder for my project. I'll just call it workshop. I'm gonna go into it. Okay, so I guess, so someone wanted me to explain command line, right? So the idea behind command line is you can basically do everything you can do in Explorer. So I can right click, or okay, let me actually go into a folder. So I can right click, I can make a folder, etc. Or I can right click on a file and I can do actions on it, like copying it, deleting it, renaming it, etc. In the command line, instead of clicking on a button to do those things, you type a command. So each command does one action. Normally when you're typing a command, the first word in the line you're typing is the command, and then you're giving it options. So for example, if I'm in the file explorer and I double click on workshop, it moves me into the workshop folder. The analogy in command line is if I run cd and go to the workshop folder, that puts me inside the workshop folder. Now every action I do is relative to that folder. What else? And yeah, makedir is just saying make a directory called workshop. So basically every analogy of what you could do in file explorer stuff, all the right click actions, there's an equivalent command for it. Make sense? Okay. So basically to have a project, you need files, right? So I'm gonna open this in VS Code, or whatever your favorite text editor is, open it so you can create some files. You don't need you don't need an IDE for this. You could use a command line text editor, but I find those harder to use and I wouldn't recommend them to a beginner. Yeah, I trust them. Okay, so I'm going to make a new file. So this will be oh, why is, okay. Oh, I know why. Hang on. Okay. Nope. Okay, well, let's with VS Code being transparent. Okay, yeah, sure. So I'm gonna create a file, type something, right? To start tracking the changes and making versions, you need to make your project folder into a Git repository. So I'll run git init to do that. You also notice now, let's see, everything you can do from the Git command line, you can also do in an IDE like VS Code. So in VS Code specifically, you would go to this tab to see all the Git actions you can do. This is nice because you don't need to memorize all the commands to know what all your options are. You can like look and see what the buttons are. Yeah, so I guess what we're basically gonna do is like, we're gonna make a file and now upload it to GitHub. So to make our first version, you're going to first add the file. If you have a bunch of files you need to add, you do this. And I think a lot of these commands are on these Git cheat sheets that we have up here, and Alex handed some out earlier. There's also some in the main room if you want to grab one later. Okay, and then I'm going to commit your file. Okay, the point of there being two stages is, let's say I want to create a new version, right? If there are some files that I modified that I want to save to put in a later version, I can just not add them and then make a version with a subset of the files I want to put in the new version, and then add the other files later. So I'm going to commit this and give a description to the version. So added index.html. Okay. So great. Now I have a repository. I have my first commit. Now, how do I upload it to GitHub? So from GitHub, I'm going to make a new repository. If you don't see that button, you can also go to your repositories, and there's a button here. All right, I'm going to call it workshop because I'm really creative. And then, so if you're doing it like this, you don't want to initialize the repository. You want like a blank slate that you can upload your stuff to. So I'm going to press create now. Okay, and I'm just going to, so we have an existing repository we made. So I'm going to blindly copy and paste these commands. Okay. I did it, my code is on the internet. Okay, how many of you had trouble getting to this stage? Okay, all good so far. Oh, yeah.
That last page you were on, is that available to us?
Yeah, so if you have a GitHub account and you go to like your repositories and click new, it'll pop up a page like this. To answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, so now let's imagine that I'm one of my teammates and I want to be working on the same repository. So say like one of my teammates has created like the basic skeleton of the project. So my teammate would send me the link to the repository. If you made it public, then they can just look at it. If you made it private, you would need to go to settings and collaborators and add your teammate as a collaborator via their GitHub account. Once you do that, you would copy the link. Oh, and also, so there are different options for like the link you can give them. I think okay, so when you're logging into the GitHub CLI, I guess, like, okay, so if you've downloaded the GitHub CLI, like I was showing you guys earlier, you run this. It'll basically give you a bunch of prompts and then open a browser window that you log into. One of the prompts is, do you want to use SSH or HTTPS as the protocol for Git? like you need to pay attention to which option you use because that determines which of these options you select. I think for most people we use HTTPS, so you would select this one. I'm on SSH. There are reasons, I can go over them at the end. So I copied that. Okay, so say I'm my teammate. Imagine this is on a different computer. So I'd run git clone and then paste in the URL that I just copied from there. Okay, so now I have a folder called workshop. And okay, so ls lists the files that's in the folder I'm currently in. So I did ls, I see there is a file called index.html. So I've successfully cloned the repository. Let's say I want to make a change. So I'll use a command line text editor right now because it's convenient. So say I want to add an exclamation point on hi. I can do that. So if you want to git add and commit at the same time, you add extra options to the command. I think this might be on the cheat sheet already. Oh, it's not. I'm going beyond the cheat sheet. Awesome. So if you want to do add and commit in one step, you do it like this. Git commit am added. So this is creating a new version of the project that has an added exclamation point. Oh, I forgot to say commit. Okay, sweet. And now this updates my local version. And now I need to update the remote version. So let me draw this real quick. Okay, let me get rid of that stuff. Okay, so the idea is, so you have like a remote version of your repository. Each of these is like a commit, right? Oh, why? Now it just had to render everything. Okay. So you'll have a version of your repository like this. So say like, so this is the version on the remote only had one commit, right? The version I just made has 2 commits. So when I want to push my changes, I'm just saying like I want the repository version to be updated to look like my version like this. So I'll do git push. Okay, sweet. So now it's updated. All right. So let's say that, so now let's say I'm like the original teammate. Okay. Okay, and I was making changes while my other teammate was making changes. So let's say I made a second file called page2.html. Oh yeah, question?
Yeah, what's the -am mean?
So the idea is when you're adding changes to be included in a version, you can decide what, so like you modify some files, right? Let's say you've modified 3 files. You only want one of them to be included in the new version. So when you want to make a new version, you need to, let's see, there are like 3 areas that you can put files. So the files as they exist on your computer are called the working tree. Then there's the index. So when you do git add, it moves the file into the index. When you do git commit, it takes all the changes in the index and makes a new version out of those, a new commit. So the idea is, so you do git add to put in the index, then git commit to add it as a commit and a new version. Git am just skips the index. It puts everything straight in a commit. Okay, any more questions? Okay, sweet. So I was saying, let's say I was making a new file called page2, and it has some content. Okay, so now I want to, okay, so let's say I just made the file, and now my teammate said, oh, I made some changes to the first file, pull my changes. So to synchronize with them, I do git pull. Okay, so this works because I was changing a different file than the one they worked on. Let's see what happens if we try to work on the same file that they were working on and then pull their changes. So let's see, okay. So I'll make another change to the index file. I'll change hi to hello, or instead of saying hi, I'll say like, yeah, just change to hello. And I'll push it. Okay, so now the version on the remote has changed hi to hello. Let me go back to my other teammate's version. Oh yeah, so cd dot dot goes back a directory. I didn't explain that before. Probably wouldn't make sense if you didn't know command line. Okay. Okay, say I want to make changes. So say I want to add a second line. So I'd say second line or something. Okay. Now my teammate says, "Oh, I made some changes. Pull it." So, but it's on the same file. So, okay, it's going to give me this error. The pull didn't work. It's telling me your local changes to the following file would be overridden by the merge. That's because I was working on the same file as my teammate, and I haven't created a new version yet. I haven't committed it yet. So there's a couple ways to resolve this. The first way I'll show you is called git stash. So if I run, okay, so before I do git stash, that's just like open index.html as a reminder. So I made a change that added a line with the text second line. All right. So let's say I do git stash. This saves all my changes and resets to the version of the repository before I started making changes. So if I open index.html again, it just has the original version. And now if I do git pull, it works. All right. What else? All right. Okay, now I'll show you guys some other ways you could have resolved it. So let's say that I had committed already. So I'll keep making changes back and forth and having a conflict each time and show you guys different ways to fix them. So let's make a line change again. Okay, actually, that didn't completely fix the problem. So I looked at this. Oh, I still want to make my changes. Then you do git stash pop, and it applies all your changes. Oh, awesome. Okay, so if you do this and it says you get a merge conflict, now you'll need to open the file and resolve that. Let's see. So let me open in VS Code because this is what most of you guys are going to see using an editor. Okay. Okay, so when you get a merge conflict, you'll see something like this. And like it looks pretty scary at first, but usually these are pretty simple to resolve. So this is the version I stashed before getting my teammate's version. And then this is my teammate's version. And saying like, oh, these aren't the same. Which one do you want to keep? Do I want to keep my teammate's version or my version? You could also just like say, oh, I want both of them and then edit it. So in this case, the way I'd want to merge it is, they replaced hi with hello, and that doesn't affect whether or not I'm adding the second line. So I'll accept both and just get rid of this hi part. Once you do that, you commit your change. So I guess, so if I wasn't using an editor like VS Code, I would do git add index.html after doing that. That does the same thing as pressing the add button there. And then I'm gonna commit it. So let's see, added second line. Okay, now I can, so this button does the same thing as push and pull. All right. So that's one way to resolve the conflict. Okay, let's go and look at a second way to resolve it. So I still make the changes from here. Okay, so let's say that I edit the file, except I've already committed when I pull my teammates change. So I'll show you what that looks like. Let's, I don't know, capitalize hello or something. Capitalized. Yeah. All right. Now I'll push it. Right, and let's go to another version. Okay, say we make a change. So this is like the other person working on the project. Say they make a change that, oh, I guess, okay, so, yeah, okay. Let's say they make a change that changes it from hello to hello world. And then so they just go straight into a commit. Oops. Okay, so let's say like you weren't aware that your teammate was making changes. If you try to push and you don't have their changes yet, it won't let you. So you don't need to worry about that. Overriding changes, my pull. Okay, so we get merge conflicts again. Let's see. Yeah, so. Oh, sorry. Okay, that's a different folder. Okay, so I'd go here and go through the same process. Let's see. Okay, gone over stash. Okay, so let's just fix this conflict real quick. So say like accept both and like change the capitalization or something. Done that. Okay. Oh, it's in Asia. Okay, awesome. So one of the problems with this is the auto-generated commit messages every time you do this are like merge whatever. Oh, I didn't push. Hang on. Or did I? Okay, that's in workshop. Okay. I want to figure out if I've pushed or not. So if you do git log, this shows you essentially that graph I was talking about before, where you have like each version in the previous version, and then these are the hashes I was talking about that uniquely identify each version. So you'll notice that mine is ahead of, so main is the, like, my changes locally, and this is telling me where the remote is. So it's telling me what the version on GitHub currently is at. So the version on GitHub currently, origin/main, is on this previous commit, and I'm on this new one. So it means I haven't pushed yet. Okay. Now the changes show up. Okay, so sometimes you'll want to like, so say like you, like this change accidentally broke something, and I want to undo the changes for some reason. There are a few ways I can do it. Okay, so the first one is git revert. So git revert makes a new commit that essentially undoes the changes in another commit. So I'll do git log to look at the previous ones. And there's a trick, like if you do git log -- one line, it makes it a bit easier to read. So if I wanted to undo this one, I could do git revert 2524. I'll just do what it says. Awesome. Merge commit. Okay, it's an exceptional case. I'm not going to cover that. Say I like made a typo or something. Okay, so now if I want to undo that change, I can do git revert. Okay, so git log. This will tell me the commit hash, and I can do git revert 22b3238. If you get a window like this is like asking you to make a description of the like reverting the change. Usually you can just leave this as the default and press OK. Yeah. Sometimes, so sometimes Git will open a text editor to make you edit a commit message. The commit message is just a description of the version, right? To get out of to make it go forward with the operation, you need to essentially save the thing it opens in the editor and then exit out. So sometimes, if you run a command like that, it might open it in an editor like Vim or something. To get out of that, you would do :WQ. Oh, yeah, if you were in a Git editor. Let's see, that's one way to undo changes. Okay. So notably, online. Okay, so notably, I guess one important part of Git when you're working on bigger projects is keeping the history clean. So, you know what changes are made, especially if you're working on a team and you're making changes, it helps to write good commit messages so that your teammates know what you're up to. So notably, if you do so if I made a commit and then I did this revert thing and then I made some more changes and pushed it, it would make the Git history, which is all the versions, a bit longer and a bit messier. So the other way that you can reverse a change is with git reset. And git reset is a bit dangerous, but if you're careful, then you shouldn't have to worry about it. So I will show you git reset. All right. Okay, so yeah. So the scary thing with git reset is, say I made a new file, page3.html. Okay, if I have some page3 content or whatever. Okay, so I have a new page called page3 or something, or just the new file in general. Yes.
Sorry, how did you exit out the script and go back to commit?
Oh, how do you get out of Vim? Classic. :WQ. You could Google how to, or what do you mean?
Exit out of the script.
So yeah, so if you open an editor on the command line, so there's a couple different ones. So you could so there's one called Nano, and this actually has all the instructions at the bottom. So the up arrow, the caret symbol means control. So control X is exiting it if you're in Nano. If you're in Vim, you do :WQ, enter to exit, or :Q. Makes sense. Yeah, but most of the time, so say most of the time you'll be so when I'm opening those, I'm just doing it to edit a file. You could do the same thing by just opening the file in VS Code or anything and editing it. But it's faster to just, or for this workshop, me presenting, it's faster to just do it in the command line, so I'm in the same window the whole time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, where was I? Okay, so I made some changes. You can see what changes you have but haven't committed with git status. Notably, I have these two changes that I haven't committed anywhere. And okay, so I'm trying to revert this typo change, right? Or I'm trying to go back to this version. So I can just do that with git reset. Hard C5 24 AC. And this goes back to that commit. So if I do git log one line again, I'm back here. So what this actually does is, so if you imagine the graph of the commits again, right? So if main is here, and I say like, okay, so this will be like commit A, B, C. If I git reset to a commit, it just moves that main branch. So now main will be pointing at this commit. The dangerous part is now I've wiped out my changes that I didn't have committed. So if I ls, or okay, sorry, it doesn't necessarily wipe them out, but sometimes it does. Yeah, I can't realize why it didn't do it this time. Okay, anyway, so sometimes it'll wipe out your files. The way to prevent that is always committing stuff. So let me go, or okay, let's say that I had changes that I had committed and I just wiped them out. And I'm like, oh shoot, where did my changes go? I had them committed, but now I don't know where they are. And if I do git log, so say I wanted like the changes that was like add typo or something. I'm already past that point in the git history. So if I do git log, it's not there, right? It was ahead of where I was, and git log isn't showing it because it only shows backwards. If I want to like find that commit to go back to it, I do git ref log. This shows you the history of every time you move a branch, or like, so git log basically shows you every time you do a commit. Git ref log shows you every time you move the branch pointers around. So with git ref log, I can see like, oh yeah, the commit for that one was this one. So git reset also can move a branch forward in the commit graph, because you know, note that like, so if I moved it backwards, right? I didn't delete these commits; they still exist. There's just no branch pointing to them. So if I do git reset A to B3, whatever, now I'm back at the commit I was at before. Yep. Okay. Okay, went through ref log. Okay. Now we're gonna go a bit more in depth into like what creates merge conflicts. So the big idea is that there are really two like main types of merge conflicts, high level and low level. So a high level merge conflict is if you have a file and say you moved it somewhere, and then your teammate renamed the file. You guys both commit, say like your teammate pushes first and you try to pull, the git gets confused because even if nothing changed in the file, like on your teammate's version, it moved, and on your version, it renamed it. It doesn't know how to automatically reconcile that. So I'll show you guys an example of that. And it's a bit hard to like, you can get stuck on it because you won't exactly like see the files like existing. It's easier with an example. So let's say I move, I rename index.html to index2.html. So say I rename it to one thing, and then I move to other folder, and I rename it to index3.html, and I pull it. Okay, now if I try to pull, oh, it just worked. It's like, did I? Oh, I guess I didn't. C4F. What? Oh, okay. It automatically did the merge for me, I guess. Okay, let's say it didn't automatically. I didn't even consider this possibility. Okay, well, we'll come back to that later. I'll show you guys something that's a bit easier to wrap your head around. So I guess, so one of the problems I've been telling you guys about is like, oh, like you get all these commits that just have like the generic name merge branch main into whatever. And this is a trick I didn't know about for a while, but if you do, like there's another version of pull you can use that, okay, so I guess I'll show you what merge normally does and then what this other version does. Okay, so say we have the other version of so this will be the version on GitHub, and this will be the local version. Okay, so say I have like A, B, C, D. And this is gonna be hard to read, so just like follow along with what I'm saying. Use this as like a little bit of a visual aid, but yeah. Okay, so say that someone makes another commit here, and so now GitHub's main branch pointer is pointing to E. And let's say I make another commit. So since like these have different contents, even though they're after D, like this one have a different hash. So imagine instead of these letters, each commit is really identified by one of these hashes. I'm just writing the letters to make it easier to follow. So I try to pull, right? Git won't let you pull unless and so okay, now my main is here. Let me draw these in a different color. Okay, so I'll draw main branch as green. Okay, so my main branch is here. It won't let you like pull without conflicts unless your main like unless your main thing exists like as a commit already in the history on GitHub. So it'll look like, oh, is there like a commit F here? No. So it won't let you do it automatically. I guess what it does when you try pulling and it fails, it'll still like download the changes. So you'll get like E, but this will be like the pointer origin / main. So you notice like here, it shows you like where the version on GitHub is. So sometimes if you pull and it like rejects it, it'll still update where origin / main is. Except sometimes you won't be able to see it on log because git log only shows you the like all the commits that are immediately like ancestors to yours, so it won't show you different branches. Where am I going with this? Okay, yeah, so okay, so when you're doing a merge, essentially what it's doing is it's pulling these two and then it's modifying, or okay, it's not modifying, it's creating a new commit here. This is your merge commit, and the merge commit, each merge commit, or special note, they have 2 ancestor commits. And then like when you push, it works out because, so this will be like your merge commit, right? When you push, GitHub will accept the merge commit because like it has the head of the branch on GitHub is an ancestor to your commit. That's when it'll accept a push. Yeah. All right, anyway, so but the other way to integrate your changes is instead of creating a new commit and then a merge commit on top of it, you can do something called a rebase, which is just say like, oh, I want like this commit to happen after that commit. Well, you can just edit the history. You make this commit descend from that commit, and it solves the problem the same way. And All right, so let me show you like practically how to do it. So I'll be on the teammate version. Let me make a change. I guess I renamed it. Say I add a third line. Yeah, okay. And okay. Name here, say first. What? Oh, this is an awesome problem. Okay, let's figure out what's going on here. So the other one thinks it's pushing to somewhere. Oh, I just didn't push. And I need to pull here. Or okay. Okay, we've entered GitHub, guys. So let's see, we tried. So I guess this is like a real world problem you'd encounter, right? Oh, you had this commit that renamed it, and then you did a merge, and then oh, where did my file go? It's not there. So you can actually see what changes were in each commit. So I think the problem is this merge commit might have renamed it back. So we can look at what the contents of the commit with git diff. Like, okay, let's do it in my editor because I love misremembering commands. So we're in workshop. That's okay here. You can look at the commits. And let's see that latest merge commit. This. Okay, no, we're here. Okay. Oh, this is awesome. Let me reload the window. Merge branch is the latest commit. VS Code does not think it's the latest commit. Let's see. It was what lack of planning does. Okay. So I'll stop this section a bit early, go to the last thing I wanted to show you guys, and then go for questions. So we're running out of time a bit. Okay, so one of the great things about GitHub is that like if you find a project you want to make changes to, it's really easy. I guess like I wanted to show you guys all that. So let's take like Antalmanac, for example, right? So say I found like, so I'm literally going to do this right now. So say I like found a bug in Antalmanac, or in this case, like found a some like pedantic detail in the README, like, oh, this is like they said ICSSC, but didn't say what that stands for, right? So this is how you would propose a change in a public repository. So the first thing you do is make your own version with the fork button. I'm gonna do that. Okay, sweet. So I made my forked version. Now I'm gonna download it. So I'll get clone that. Okay, sweet. So now I have it locally. I will open the file I want to edit. I'll scroll down to what I want to change. So say I wanted it to say like maintained by ICS Student Council. Okay, so I made my change. I commit it. I make a good commit message. -m change ICSSE to, or expand ICSSE acronym. That's what I'll say. Oops, I didn't add it first. Okay, now I'll push to my version. Okay, so I'll look like, okay, so you see on my local version, it made the change, right? I expanded it. If I look in the README, oh, look here, it did it. Okay, but if I go back to the original repository, obviously it didn't change things, right? Because it would be stupid if it was that easy to make a change to someone else's repository. So the thing I do is, so once you do it, you'll see like these contribute buttons. So I'll click open a pull request. This is basically requesting that the owner of another repository integrate your changes. And this is cool because if there's like some piece of software that you use personally, like you can, and it's open source on GitHub, you can propose any changes you want. And if the repository owner looks at it often enough, your changes actually might get merged into the official version. And like so it's actually like is this easy basically. Usually before you open a pull request, you want to test out the changes locally, but since this was so simple, I can just visually look, oh yeah, I changed it. So give it a title, change, expand ICSSE acronym in README. Normally you want to like say like motivate why you made the change. So the README mentions ICSSE without ever saying what the acronym means. Let's see. Another good thing to do if you're making a pull request is to show a screenshot of your changes. So let me go back to my repository and so I'll send them a screenshot of the change. And let me like underline the part that I did. Copy, and I should be able to paste it in here. This PR changes it to ICS Student Council. Okay, so a lot of the time when you're making a pull request, it'll be to fix some bug. And on a GitHub repository, issues is usually what you use to keep track of like bugs or like enhancement ideas. So if it's an enhancement idea that's already been an issue, usually you'd link that. So it'd say like, oh, this fixes the bug mentioned in issue number, whatever, right? But I'm not doing any of that stuff, so I don't really need to do that. And I just create the pull request. So now the people that that maintain the repository can see this, and on their end, they'll be able to like so they'll be able to like look at what you changed, and they'll be able to then like press a button that merges it in, basically. Yeah. So in this case, Antalmanac automatically assigned a reviewer to the PR, but if it didn't do that, I would normally like, if you want to ask someone to review your code and merge it in, you would go to like here and look at the contributors and look at like, or look at the commits and see who's been committing recently. So like, there's a lot of different people, but like, say the most recent person to commit, and then I would request that they review it. So I'd say like reviewers, like good luck with Min and ask him to review it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we're out of time. Any questions?
Can we get the QR code again for the site?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Anyone still want the QR code up? Okay, I guess another thing I want to mention is like, so the last organized meant the last workshop hosts mentioned VS Code live share as an easy way to collaborate between people. If you're having trouble with Git, like live share is definitely a great way to do it, but Git is worth learning because eventually when you're working on a project with people and you're not working at like the same time, you can't like just like keep a live share session open on someone's laptop the entire day, right? So Git is normally how people collaborate with stuff like asynchronously, like across projects that take like weeks or months. But like if any of you guys like find this stuff hard or like oh no, command line, like live share is a great alternative. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just I'm actually a repository admin.